Morning. Look at my grease stain on my Richmond Brothers shirt. Garbage. I got it, last time I wore it, I got it. And apparently the wife didn't put super clean on it to get the grease stain out. Oh well. Anyway, what I've got going on today is, this is on hold because I'm waiting for the belt to come in. As some of you seen in my last farming video, I had an issue with the rototiller, and I have not torn the rototiller apart yet. So I think I'm going to tear that apart to find out what's going on with this thing and kind of go from there. This clutch has a slip clutch, or this PTO shaft has a slip clutch on it. So if a rock or something gets stuck in there, the clutch slips. That wasn't the case with this. I think a rock got stuck in there. That's not the issue. But I think a rock got stuck in there. But the problem is, I think the slip clutch was too tight. And I may have broke either a gear inside of here or a keyway on the gear shaft. Something broke inside, because like if you turn the PTO on and it turns all the time, everything works like it should, and the minute you lower it down, the PTO just spins and the tines don't. So that tells me there's a gear or something in here that's broken, and I need to tear it apart to figure that out. I also need to start getting the combine out and going through it, changing the oil, greasing it, checking bearings, doing the whole shebang on that. I have parts for the corn head that I need to put on, and I need to start going through the grain head, the bean head. I have oil to change in semis. I have the grain cart that needs to be serviced. I've got a lot going on coming up real fast, like in the next week, because we're going to have harvest coming up. Harvest is right around the corner. I mean, we're already halfway through August right now, and I need to start going through that stuff because of the fact that if I need parts and can't get them right away, then I have time to get the parts. You get what I'm saying. I got her disconnected. What I have found was, I'm not convinced there's a broken gear. Because if I grab where this clutch plate is and rotate it, the tines and everything are wanting to turn. So, what I think happened is, well, I do know the PTO shaft broke. This part slides over top of this part. You can see the worn edges there. And you can also see that this has been split here. Let me see if I can find another PTO shaft to pull apart, and I'll put them side by side and compare them and show you guys. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. And this is what it does look like. I'm thinking that's my problem. I could be wrong, but that might be my problem. Another issue I'm having is I twisted the U-joint out. See right there? It's supposed to be straight like this one, going up and down, but it's not. So that's another issue I'm having with it. We replaced this PTO shaft, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm beginning to think that it was not big enough, adequate enough, if you would say. Because that PTO shaft that I compared it to was actually the original PTO shaft off of it. And we went the cheap route and decided to buy this shaft off of Amazon to save, actually it was going to save us like $200. So again, you get what you pay for. This is a classic example, you get what you pay for. Do I regret doing what we did by buying it off Amazon? No. We got 2 years life out of the thing. Am I going to buy another one off of Amazon? Probably not. So, at least we know now what's going on with it. I basically twisted the PTO shaft off and busted a U-joint and so on and so forth. So, now I can take this, move it over somewhere, because once we get a new PTO shaft, I can put it on there, make sure it works, because I really don't want to tear that thing apart if I don't have to, because this is all gear driven, and that's a big gasket there, and if I break that gasket open and don't need to break the gasket open, then I just pissed away $65 gasket. So yeah, we're gonna get a new PTO shaft for that, put it on, fire it up, make sure it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll break open everything else, but if it does work, then I just saved a little money in a gasket and oil and everything else. So now I need to get that out of the middle of the barn and move on, onward and upward. I got some grease on my camera handle, so I figured I'd grab one of the handy wipes and wipe it off. And look at the dirt that came off of it. Just nasty. Didn't realize it was as dirty as it was. At any rate, the handle for you guys is all clean now. All right. Like I said, I'm gonna get this out of the way and start, I think, pulling equipment out so I can get to that big old green thing in the corner. Hopefully it starts. I haven't started it all summer. It should. It's a deer, right? I guess the bigger question is if the Kenworth will start. Moment of truth. Didn't even smoke. You ever have one of those days where you get distracted easily, like you're doing something and then it's like, oh, squirrel. That's kind of what I'm doing today. I moved the Kenworth out. While I was moving the Kenworth out, I noticed the door is squeaky. So I walked in, I grabbed a can of lubricant. So I walked out to squirt that. Well, when I grabbed the can of lubricant, I found this little tube of Loctite that I've been looking for. I'm like, oh, well, there's that. So I set the can of lubricant down, I grabbed the Loctite, and I went over and started to use the Loctite on the piece of equipment that I needed it for. And then while I was doing that, I noticed the bearing looked a little dry, so I'm like, well, maybe I'll go grease that. So I went and grabbed the grease gun and come over and I greased the bearing, and then when I was putting the grease gun back, I noticed there was a jar of concentrated window cleaner, and I was like, oh yeah, the spray bottle we used for glass cleaner was empty, so I mixed up a bottle of that and put that back on the shelf. And then when I was putting the shelf back on putting it back on the shelf, I looked at another can of lubricant and went, oh yeah, now I got to go do the door for the semi. So I grabbed that bottle of lubricant, and then as I'm walking out to the semi, I'm like, wait a minute, I just had a bottle of lubricant. Where did I put that? So then you kind of get what's going on. It's one of those type of days. But at any rate, I am walking over to the big green machine, and I'm gonna start it and see if it'll warm up. Helps if you turn the battery disconnect on, you know. It's been a while. The light's on now, so that means it's got power. Let's see if it has enough power. Nice! It's starting. Figures it's low of fuel. Now I gotta move all that crap. This needle. That wasn't so bad. Now let it run for a minute. It's still kind of clean too, other than dusty from sitting for almost a year. Any idea where that goes? That was laying on the floor here when I walked back in the barn. So obviously it fell off the combine somewhere. Okay. It has been awakened from its hibernation. So now I need to service this thing. I usually take 2 or 3 days to just service this thing and kind of go through everything on it. It takes a little bit of time, but we found that if we take a little extra time right now, it saves in the long run during harvest. Helps prevent breakdowns, things like that. The spring I found, I'm guessing it has something to do with this broken belt that's right here. Right out of the gate. Haven't even opened up a shield yet, I found a broken belt. That's all right. I know what belt that is. That's the rotary screen around the radiator. What it does is there's a screen that turns around the radiator and it prevents any shaft and things like that getting into the radiator. And we've had that break once before, maybe twice before. I don't know. But that's what that spring's for. Oh, I gotta share this with you. So our dishwasher crapped out. Like, crapped out. Found out it was gonna cost more to fix it than what it was gonna cost to buy a new one. Excuse me. So, it's like, okay, let's just go buy a new dishwasher. We went, we ordered one. The guy says, well, it'll be probably 2 weeks before it comes in. Okay, whatever. So, paid for it and everything, left all the information. And it's coming on 3 weeks now that it hasn't come in yet, or we haven't got a phone call. So yesterday, I decided I'd call. And I called and I'm like, hey, we ordered a dishwasher a few weeks ago and we're just curious on the status of it. He says, oh, I gave him my name, what I ordered, like the work order or purchase order. And he goes, well, that dishwasher came in a little over a week ago. Nobody called you? No. If someone called me, do you really think I'd be calling you to ask you where the dishwasher's at? So, needless to say, I have to run and pick up a dishwasher today so we can get that installed because we've got Scooter's birthday party coming up. Yeah. I've been walking around this thing just kind of doing a visual inspection of it. That one belt that broke, I think the reason why that belt broke is because the rotary screen that turns around the radiator, I think that needs a new bearing in it. Because I got up there and I went to spin it. You can see it right there. That thing turns as the motor's turning. That rotates around to keep the shaft from building up on the radiator. I went up there to turn it by hand because that thing should spin freely, and it is very hard to turn. So I have a feeling that bearing is shot. So I'm going to order a new bearing for that, and obviously a new belt. But visually, and like I said, just walking around visually looking, that seems to be the only issue I'm seeing, other than tightening up with some belts and chains. But for the most part, visually it looks like it's good to go. It still needs oil change, air filters greased, tire pressures checked. It needs a lot of little things here and there, but not. And that throat chain probably ought to be tightened a little bit. It's got a little slack in it. So, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's got a lot that needs to be done to it. Alright guys, it's supposed to start raining this afternoon, so I am going to run down and grab that dishwasher while it's not raining, because it's supposed to start raining this evening and all day tomorrow. So I'm going to go run and get that dishwasher while it's not raining. Tomorrow I'm going to start servicing the combine and getting that ready to go and kind of go from there. But I think I'm going to swing by the dealership and get that belt ordered and the bearings ordered so they're on their way, because I know for a fact we need those things. I'm sure there's going to be some other things that I come across that we're going to need, but might as well get what I need coming, or get what I know I need coming. So, alright, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.